Today on the Dadger, I'm joined by former Wisconsin Badger long snapper Connor Udelhoven. I have had a couple of his former teammates tell me I should definitely reach out to get Connor on, so I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to dive into his journey as a Badger and life after football. Connor, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, so I typically have uh, game plan, so to speak, when I do these. So I always start with, kind of your upbringing. So I know you grew up in St. Paul area, but both your parents are from Wisconsin. Actually, I feel like I probably know some of your dad's relatives because I know I'm from Belmont, so
Oh, sure.
he's from
Yeah, that's very
he's
close to
from Platteville,
Platteville.
yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So I think there might be some overlap there, maybe I don't know,
Okay.
but so can you go a little more in depth about your childhood and upbringing?
Yeah, I was fortunate to grow up a Badger fan, really from birth. I was born in Minnesota, but my dad was a big Badger fan. I also had my cousin Ryan, who was born just a day after me. My uncle Dan, so his dad, and my dad decided to start bringing us to Badger games. Our first was when we were 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
So all four of us have went to a Badger home game since, before I can remember. So growing up, it was always Wisconsin football. That was my favorite team to watch. It was kind of an appointment on Saturday to watch it, and always look forward to getting to Madison once a year. So fast forwarding, but to be able to not only go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, but to be able to play football was really beyond any of my wildest dreams.
Yeah. So were you? Well, I'll hop around here a little bit, but we talked a little bit prior to this. Your son's 2.5. Are we taking him that early yet? Have you taken him to any sporting events? keep the tradition alive.
Yeah, we've stayed a little bit more local.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's certainly been to a lot of sporting events. I still need to work to get him to Madison, down to a game. My wife's also graduated from Madison, so we got some strong connections to get back. But between him and our 4-month-old now, we haven't quite gotten back there in the fall. But it's certainly on the bucket list.
Yeah, your dad and uncle got some cojones on them. I don't think I'd take a 2-year-old in that environment.
I know it. I'm very thrilled it happened, but yeah, looking back,
yeah,
it was a challenge.
So back to growing up. Were you big into like playing sports growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just anything to get me outside. I was all about it from a young age, and then I think in kindergarten I would have started playing soccer. I think soccer twice a year, maybe I think basketball. So soccer, basketball, soccer, and then for me growing up, football started in 3rd grade.
Okay.
We started tackle, which is fascinating to think about now. I don't know that tackle needs to start quite in 3rd grade,
right.
But I was fortunate at the time. That's what it did for me. So at that time, I transitioned to football in 3rd grade. Still played basketball, and then I don't have a good rhyme or reason, but I started playing baseball in the spring at that point. So really all the way through high school when I got cut my sophomore year from basketball.
Yep.
I played intramurals then for fun with some buddies, but
sure.
I was playing all 3 sports until that time. Then I was playing football, training in the winter, and played baseball in the spring and summer.
Okay. So all those sports growing up, did your dad ever coach you any of those?
Yeah, he did a fair amount. He was for football through middle school, not every year, but most years. Basketball a little bit, and I don't think he ever did for baseball. Maybe a year or two, but he was just very involved, very helpful. He was always an assistant coach, never the head coach, but he's always just very knowledgeable, knew where to be, knew how to, I'd say, more really orchestrate a team, and was really helpful and encouraging to have on the sideline, and I was always excited. If nothing else, for me now as a parent, it's just an exciting way to spend extra time with in my case with my dad, and I hope to be able to do that with my kids, to then now be able to spend more time with my kids if sports is what they're interested in, which I would certainly be happy if it is, but if they're interested in something else, I'm sure I'll find a way to be interested in whatever that is.
Yeah. I think your dad did it right, though. I feel like assistant coaches still get to coach, but they don't take any of the heat from the parents. So it's
Yeah,
like the perfect
I
zone.
think so. It's something to write down, something to put in the memory box for that time. Absolutely.
So you played center in high school. I also assume you long snapped in high school as well at some point.
I did, yeah. Yep. We in eighth grade is when I began long snapping.
Okay.
I always enjoyed punting too. I just thought it was fun to do, and I did a little bit of punt, pass, and kick growing up, which
Yep.
was a fun avenue in. And from there, in eighth grade, we had somebody that can punt, but we needed a long snapper. So at that point, my dad was an assistant again, but our head coach, Coach Howard, Brian Howard, at the time was just said, "Hey, we need Connor to long snap," and that sent me on a trajectory that I really could never imagine from that point. But eighth grade is when I started, and then freshman year at Crean Durham Hall, where I went in St. Paul, I had long snap previously, and I was just trying to find as many ways to be on the field as I could at that point. And looking at who was in the punting line and who was in the long snapping line, I thought I had a better shot of finding my way as a long snapper. And fortunately, it just continued from there.
Yeah. Being a eighth grader, was it tough to get the form down for long snapping?
Yeah, I didn't have too much of a clue what I was doing at that point. We did have another one of the coaches that had experience
Okay.
from just playing at different levels. I think he played in college and just had at least a tip or trick to make it a little bit. At that point, I think we were only 10 or 12 yards. I think it was maybe
Still.
10. So it's certainly a lot when you're 14 to throw it back like that, but a lot more helpful than when you immediately transition the following year to 14 yards or so.
Yeah, I was gonna say because even like I remember us going through high school trying, screwing around and trying it, and it was just like there's no way.
Yeah, I was really fortunate, and this could be jumping ahead. I'm not sure, but to have James McGuire, who is also from Crean Durham Hall, his dad was one of my math teachers, so we had strong connections through there before he went to Wisconsin to long snap as well. And we're just able to ask his dad, "Hey, where'd you go?" And they had a lesson or two from Cole's kicking and snapping, and I went there a few times in college, or a few times, excuse me, in high school, and that's really what helped me really begin to learn and actually understand what I was doing versus just figuring it out on my own and
Yeah,
transitioning from what a shotgun snap, just making a shotgun snap further.
yeah,
And Cole's kicking really was pretty essential to me figuring out how to really make this become something I could be specialized in and do.
yeah. So, what did your? I'm always interested in guys' recruiting stories. Like, who all did you get recruited by, and was it like predominantly for long snapper?
Yeah, it was only for long snapping. I just with my measurables as a center at 5'11", 215, 220. It wasn't
Yeah,
looking super promising to be a center at the
right. Yeah,
Division
that would
One
be
level
tough.
because I come in, I look at Travis Frederick, Dan Volts, and I mean I'm not only staring up at them, but if I stood behind them, you couldn't even see me.
Right,
So
right.
it was pretty remarkable to transition to seeing all the offensive linemen. I mean, much less them start looking at the tackles. I mean, Big Rob,
Yep,
who is
yep.
still incredible to watch with his career with the Rams now. I always enjoy seeing them and seeing his success. But just going in and seeing guys like that and imagining that I was playing a on the same area as them just a year before was always a bit mind blowing. I always tell people I was fortunate I had a very specific skill of throwing a ball between my legs, and I really just got to watch a bunch of incredible athletes perform while I showed up on fourth downs.
Was
So,
there?
go ahead.
Uh, no, sorry. So I guess were there because you walked on at Wisconsin, correct?
Yeah, so recruiting, I'll try to make this as short as possible because it was a very short recruitment process. I had sent in tape my senior year, I think just to Wisconsin. That was really the one school I was interested in. I just wanted to go there academically, and if I could play football, that was an extreme bonus. And fortunately, it all worked out. But I had I didn't hear from Wisconsin until the day after I graduated high school. So at the time, we just had a coach there that was for a short period. He gave me a call. It was on my voicemail, and I almost thought it was a prank call. So I immediately called back and just said, hey, if you, at that point, I'd been deferred and waitlisted twice. So I just really was trying to get into school. So I
Yeah.
called back and said, hey, if this is real, if you're able to help get me into school, just tell me when to show up. I'm there.
Yeah.
So yeah, my recruiting process, yeah, it was, I think June, might have been June 3rd, the day after my high school graduation was the first call I got from Wisconsin. And all I really needed was saying, hey, we'd like you on the team.
Right.
It was as simple as that. From going to games growing up and being a huge Badger fan myself, that was the dream. And I was fortunate that the getting on the team happened. And then once that goes, you make your dream a little bit higher. But that was the first dream, was just to be able to play football for Wisconsin.
Yeah. So, who did you send? I guess marketing yourself looks a lot different from probably when you were looking to get recruited to now. And I've talked a little
Mm-hmm.
bit about it with other guys. Now it's like social media. You can put it out there and maybe it gets picked up by somebody. Like, how did you know who to send it to? Like, how to get it in the right hands, I guess.
Yeah, I was incredibly naive. I was fortunate. We had at my high school 2 years prior, Chantrell Henderson was the #1 recruit in the country. So because of that, I think our high school coaches certainly got to know many people around the country and who were recruiting, who was stopping in. And I mean, that's just one. There was a handful of people, fortunately, from Cretin-Derham Hall that had really been higher recruits that a lot of coaches were looking at. So my head coach, Mike Scanlon, had just asked, "Hey, who do you want this tape to be sent out to?" And I just said Wisconsin. That's it. And which is, again, I think, quite a naive thing, because if the goal is to play football at the next level, probably spreading it to a few more people would have been the way to go. But Wisconsin was always it for me, and I was really fortunate it worked out. But that was really it. It was just putting a huddle tape together. It was what it was at the moment. I don't know if Huddle is still the program or not, but I just had a little bit of tape and sent it to the recruiting department at Wisconsin, whoever Coach Scanlon was familiar with. And
Yeah.
having James there already, James McGuire, was, I think, helpful, that they had a connection to Cretin-Derham Hall, and if they were getting a long snapper from Cretin, that was maybe going to be a similar prototype.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you also reach out to James prior to submitting the tape or committing or anything like that? Since you
No, really,
had known
really
him?
just, yeah, I think I knew his dad a little bit better throughout high school. We were only 2 years apart, but I think we really expanded our friendship once we got into college together.
Yeah.
But I think really, yeah, having his dad as kind of the conduit between him and I from high school was really the most helpful piece of that, until got to high school, and then got to college, and then James was really instrumental in all the development and knowledge that I had once I got to college.
Yeah. So was there anything that stands out to you your first year in college that you remembering being the toughest transition for you?
Yeah, just, I mean, for me, just leaving home, I was originally told that I was going to be at that time, you could have 120 or 125 people on the roster, and that could start once school started. For fall camp, you could have 105 people. So I was told from the beginning of my recruiting process that I'd be a part of the 120. So I'd have to arrive when school started. And whether it was, I'm not sure if it was injury, for whatever reason, I guess I imagine it was injury. I'm not sure who or what exactly happened, but there was enough spots that opened that people weren't practicing, that the 105 was something I could be a part of. So I want to say I got a call, and I think camp started on August 5th. I got a call on August 1st saying, "Hey, we have a spot open up on the 105. Are you able to make it on the 5th?" So that was, I thought I had another month still with, at that time, all your, well, I guess just all of it's your for me first time leaving home, leaving all the friendships that you built up over the course of the previous 18 years, and I think that transition just being so quick was the really one of the hardest things for me, and then we had training table start, which I was not used to. You had a full buffet for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then they'd send you home with what they called a late night snack, which was usually a full 12-foot or 12-inch sandwich, a full burrito from you name whatever place, and I I gained weight a little bit too quickly early on, and I was fortunate. Our strength coach at the time, Jameel Walker, was very helpful at bringing me back down, working out a diet plan. But that was one of the harder transitions for me, was just going and really learning how to be an athlete. Without that first summer, I wasn't with the team until just the first day of fall camp. So that was pretty eye opening to go from, and I mean, really just being a fan of many of these individuals, from just being a fan of Wisconsin to all of a sudden being in the same room with them was pretty eye opening, and something I had to get used to pretty quickly.
Your first year, you were splitting long snapping responsibility with James. Did he kind of take you under his wing at that point, or was there someone who really helped you with the jump from high school football to Big Ten football?
Yeah, I mean, I think James, Kyle French being one of the older specialists at the time too. I redshirted my first year, but I was fortunate to travel with the team because there was only two long snappers. So unfortunately, James stayed healthy, so I was able to maintain my redshirt my first year.
Mm-hmm.
And those two, I mean, we were a young room. They were both redshirt sophomores, and they were the oldest two in our room at the time. And they were really, I think, really just helpful as specialists. You end up spending quite a bit of time together because we need a good chunk of the field to do a lot of our work, but
Yeah.
the team also needs a good chunk of the field to do their work. So we'd usually go to the indoor facility, the McLean, or go to the grass field that was up a little bit beyond the stadium to do our work. So really the group we had there is what really helped me come along. And Brock DeSico was my locker mate, one of our tight ends, and he was helpful, a little bit older. I think he was a redshirt junior at the time, my first year. So just talking to him, learning from him, and he had transferred from Pitt too. So he had a lot of different experiences just outside of Wisconsin too, on just what it was like to be a collegiate athlete. And he was a quieter guy that really led by example, but just seeing the way he worked, just seeing his work ethic, were just really helpful to help me learn what it's all about. And I think really anyone at Wisconsin, if you were working hard, that was something that was noticed and appreciated and respected.
To start, was it tough staying mentally prepared, having split long snapping duties? So, like, really, you're only in a handful of plays throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
But like those are some pivotal moments of a game, right? Like,
yeah. If I was in, it was always a scoring opportunity, being just field goals and extra points for the first time. So that was, I think, I mean, it was really neat for me. It was always an opportunity to change the game. You always want to do it in a positive way. I think there's two things at play. The first one, for the long snapping part of it, I think the coolest thing about long snapping is there's nothing anybody can do to stop what you're doing at any other position. Somebody else is doing something to counteract what you're doing to make your job harder, whether it's, wide receiver facing a defensive back, an offensive lineman facing a defensive lineman or linebacker. Nobody can impact the long snap until the ball is out of your hands. So at that point, I mean, that's the job that I was doing. It was already to the holder by the time anyone could really impact what I was doing. So I thought that was the coolest thing about long snapping. And then the other thing, we have to be perfect as specialists. I mean, we're not always perfect, but if we have one bad snap, then all of a sudden your game, especially is only doing field goals and extra points. If you get 5 opportunities and one of them is bad, you score 80%, and that's not a great game. Whereas we'll just say an offensive lineman, if you have one bad snap and you're 50 plays in the game or more, 60, 70, 80, I mean, you have about 98, 99% for your grade. So it was always a little extra pressure, but it was something that it's so repetitive that when you're out there, I think it was just, I just was able to mentally focus and just be in a space to just get your job done.
So I know in an article you did with Mike Lucas, I think it was your senior year, you talked to him about staying mentally locked in for some of those bigger snaps. I think you mentioned you had some sort of ritual, like a not really a ritual, but something you did to stay mentally locked in before those snaps. Can you
Hmm.
just kind of walk us through what that looked like?
Yeah, I was on the sidelines with just right before on every third down because you just have to be ready. You don't know if the team's getting it on fourth down. If you get close enough that maybe you're going for it and you don't have to go in. Um, but always had to be ready on third downs just in case we're going in. And I would just it was every single time try to eliminate as many variables as possible. So I just close my eyes, have an image of a perfect snap in my mind, just to have a positive mindset going out on the field. Would go out, always had the same routine to approach the ball, put my left foot in the right spot, put my right foot in the correct spot, and do the motion of a snap. And then I just had a it was just three things back to back that I would just say, and the last thing was just make it count. And I would just keep repeating that in my head to just allow me to block out any noise or anything around me. They would just keep repeating, make it count in my head, and that allowed me to be in a space to not really worry about what the time was on the clock, whether it was the first quarter, whether it was the fourth quarter, because my job was to snap the ball and get it to the holder or the punter. It doesn't matter if it's the first quarter, or if it's a game-winning field goal. It's the same job. They're still 8 yards for a field goal. They're 8 yards away from me every single time. So anything around the game is really independent of what my job was.
Did you have like a welcome to college football moment, so to speak, that reminded you just how precise you need to be in that role?
Yeah, I think not as much on the snaps itself, but one of my unfortunately the bringing up the game is not ideal memories, but against Arizona State was really one of the first experiences I had that was a whoa moment. They had somebody that was lined up angled diagonally directly at me as a long snapper, and I think the first, I don't recall if it was a field goal or extra point, but the first experience we had on that was my redshirt freshman year. I was looking straight up into the sky before I even could remember the ball was snapped.
Jeez.
And that was something that I think long snappers do get a certain amount of protection, but I don't know how much it really is at times. And that was something that was just, hey, your job is to long snap, but you do need to be prepared because there's sometimes a 300 plus pound guy that is rushing right at you after the snap. So it was just being cognizant. Hey, make sure you always follow through, finish the snap because that's most important. You can't do anything if the snap's not good. It doesn't matter if you're blocking, if the ball's rolling on the ground. But that was just a good reminder that hey, there is a second part to my job here.
Did you have a preference on which you like snapping more between field goals and extra points or punts?
Yeah, I was always most comfortable with field goals and extra points. I think precision and accuracy was the biggest part of my long snapping. Speed's important, I think, always to a certain extent. But I was fortunate long snapping and for punts, I was fast enough, but accuracy was my biggest thing. So when it's 8 yards back for extra points and field goals, sometimes being too quick on those, you want to make sure it's just in a comfortable spot to catch for your holder. Your operation from snap to kick, you still want to be around 1.25, 1.3. But as long as the ball's there, the laces are out, being accurate is a lot more helpful than being quick on those. So the field goals is where I always felt most comfortable. Uh, then it was neat when in the summertime we got together with Cole's kicking a bunch of other long snappers. It was really incredible seeing some of the ways some of those guys could really whip it back there and just at an incredible rate. And when you can combine the accuracy and the incredible speed, that's when you start seeing guys that are playing on Sundays.
Yeah, so you're kind of going into it a little bit, but can you talk a little bit more about like the responsibilities between the two? If there was any difference between like hand placement on how you're snapping those, the distance trajectory. I assume it has to be different on those. You talked speed has to be different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about the actual snap? What is the difference between the two of them, and then the responsibilities afterwards for, maybe people who don't really know?
Yeah, I can go as high level or as in depth as the questions lead me, but I'll keep it
Yeah.
as high level as possible here. For field goals, with anything, the most important thing is accuracy, and then speed has to come along after, in my opinion. So for field goals, you always want to be accurate. A good aiming point is at the holder's chest or at whatever knee is up. And something I learned from kickers at the college level, if you're going to miss towards them so they can see the ball the whole time. I think kickers, if you miss where the holder has to turn back and the kickers can't see the ball for a little bit, that sometimes can throw off them, that you'll see in games sometimes when kickers can be a bit erratic. I think that's something I've learned that's important for them to see. So if you're going to, you don't want to miss ever, but if you're going to, you want to miss it out towards the open area where the kickers can keep seeing it. But
Sure.
accuracy is the most important. And then I think really at the collegiate level, you want to get down where your laces are anywhere within a eighth of a turn from being forward, just so they're allowed ready looking at the goalpost. Ideally, the holder gets it in a spot where they can just set it down, don't have to worry about spinning it. I was really fortunate to have two fantastic holders in Drew Meyer and Connor Allen that if laces ever were off, they could spin it and be on the spot. They were both just really incredible and had a lot of trust in them, which really makes my job a lot easier when you know that if there is something that goes wrong, the guy behind you can make up for it. But having the laces out is also important, and that's something that I think really just being consistent is the most important thing. And if you're doing the same thing every time, your laces should end up in the same spot, whether they're where you want them to be, whether they're completely backwards. That's then where you can start manipulating either how you're holding the ball, how much your wrist is turned. But it's being consistent, then you can start figuring out where to put your laces. So that was something for me that once I had a consistent snap, then I was able to figure out what I needed to do to make sure the laces were out every time.
Sure.
For punts, you're looking at trying to get to the punter's hip is typically where they want it, their punting hip. So if they're right-footed, on their right hip, if they're left-footed, on their left hip. Anywhere from knee to chest is kind of your miss area, but on the hip is ideal. So when they catch it, it's just right in the spot where they're able to mold it and drop it. That one, you're really it's different for everyone, but with the punt long snap, you're really sliding your heels back. You're going to get a lot of force from really your feet moving. That was something going back to field goals. You have two guards that are interlocking their feet with you. So with that one, it's a shorter distance too, and you don't always need that same amount of velocity that's going out for a punt. So that one, for me at least, it was important to keep my feet still, so I wasn't running my legs and feet into the guards that were helping protect me. But I think that's probably the two biggest differences is just how much kind of power you're sending back with your heel slides or
And
lack of.
so after you get done long snapping field goal, did you have to make sure you got your hands up or anything right away? And then for punt it, you're just like gunning it, right? After you snap, or is that?
I'll start with the field goals, then we'll go into punt. For field goals, yeah, it was important just to get my head up and sink my hips as low as possible. Many times the guy across from me was significantly larger than me, but I was fortunate to have awesome guards on either side of me to help protect those A gaps a little bit. But for me, it was just getting as wide and low as I could to just be stable and not rock backwards.
Yeah.
It was really more so just getting in the way of people and being low enough that they couldn't knock me backwards.
Yeah.
Because the quickest spot to the kicker is right through the middle. So it was just making sure I followed through with my snap, but then immediately snapping my head up. And that was something that really we worked a lot in practice, was to try to every time I would snap in practice, it was getting your head up, just simulating it was a game, because the more we could do in practice to make less variables happen for the game, that was important, just to really just get your head up. It wasn't even always, it's nice if you can get your arms out to block too, but a lot of it was just getting wide and getting low, just to be in a spot to be stable for your guards to really be able to kick out the people in the middle. So I had a lot of appreciation towards my guards on the field goal team. And then punt was different. We were in the spread punt the first 3 years, and then when Coach Christ and Coach Herring, who is our special teams coordinator, we switched to pro style punt at that time. So for the first 3 years, when James was long snapping for the punts, it was just long snap the ball, get out and go run downfield. The pro style punt is what I was doing exclusively once I started getting on the field for long snapping for punts. So that was something where I'd be going back, long snap, take a couple of shuffles backwards in a pass set, and then either go downfield or having blocking responsibilities. And that was
Sure.
something up to our PP, who we had Joe Schobert my first year, Garrett Dooley the second year. And there was a cadence that they would call out that was either 6 people or less in the box, 7 people in the box, or 8 people in the box. And there was just a call that was left or right. If it was 6, it was less important. It was just saying there were 6 people in the box. If it was 7,
Yeah.
there was a call saying if it was overloaded to the left or overloaded to the right. And if it was 8, there would be a call. And the call with 8, even if it was even, the call would just be telling me what way to go. And then he would be filling in the other side of whatever way the opposite of what way he would tell me to at least look for the block. So that was always a couple shuffles back, see if someone's coming. If somebody is coming, make sure to block them. If no one's coming, then release and try to make a play downfield. Fortunately, our gunners were pretty good and were usually faster than me getting down. But I tried my fastest to make an impact.
So I've been, we're talking about your holders but I've been doing a bit with some of the former players on here called start, sit, redshirt. So I'm going to give you 3 guys that one of them was actually your redshirt freshman year, but kind of over your 10 year, and you got to pick start, sit, redshirt. So we're going to go with kickers for your tenure at Wisconsin. So we have Jack Russell, Raphael Gaglianone, and then Andrew Endicott.
Yeah, geez, this is a tough spot to do it for teammates. But you said it was start, sit, and redshirt.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, when he was at his healthiest, Raph was lights out. I was going into what would have been my senior year or my redshirt senior year and his third year in the program before he had to get back surgery. I'd never seen anyone kick the ball better than him at that point. I think he may be finished at 7 for 8 because he played through one game that his back was already hurting at that point. But the Lambeau game against LSU, he was lights out. I think our second game, he was lights out, and then that third game is when he started getting injured. But because of that, I mean, he was dialed in. It was just remarkable to watch. I think I'd probably redshirt Jack just because he was my roommate on many road trips, and I'd have to sit Andy.
Okay, all right.
But I was always impressed as heck by Andy's leg. He was our kickoff guy for a while, and I don't know where he generated the power out of, but it was remarkable to see his size translate to power. I was always in awe of that.
So, what's one game you'll never forget being a part of, even if most fans may have not noticed, like your role in it?
Yeah, I would just say if I can say 2, I'll say 2.
Yeah.
For the role special teams had in it, the game against LSU at Lambeau Field was one of the coolest moments of my career. To come down to, we needed 3 field goals, have the go-ahead field goal with under 4 minutes into a pretty stiff wind from, I think it was 46 out, to take the lead. And it was 14-13 at the time, so we needed it to not only, I guess, go ahead, but yeah, to take the lead. And if we miss that, who knows where we're at. But to take the lead was pretty special at that moment. And at the time too, having Roth in the number 27 jersey was pretty special to all of us. So for him to make that field goal, honor Sam Foltz too the number. I think having the wind we had in our face, I don't know if Ralph cleared the bar too much, so it always felt like there was a little extra push from above on that one, and that one really stands out as a pretty special moment for that kick, and also with the entire off season with our entire team hearing about how good LSU was going to be, and who knows how Wisconsin's going to be. So to start off with a win and in Lambeau Field was just absolutely incredible. Growing up a Packer fan as well, to be able to wear the Motion W and play in Lambeau Field, and then get a win against a very hyped up team, and have an impact towards the end was pretty special. Just to be a part of all that, and it was all credit to Connor and Ra for making it happen on the back end, and the team up front for blocking to give us all time to do it. And then just being a part of Melvin's game run for 408 was something that was just one of the most unbelievable experiences for me ever to have it happen. He needed, I think, 24 yards to break LT's record, and we were or maybe out of something like that, and we were on the 26-yard line, and for him to close it out at the fourth quarter, the snow starts falling right before jump around happens. I mean, it felt like we were in a snow globe, and it was almost like an outer body experience just to have he scores, the snow really starts coming down, it's a night game, jump around happens. I mean, it was unbelievable, and it was just such an unbelievable experience to beat Nebraska is always great, and for him to set the record the way he did. I always think if he would have the opportunity to play the fourth quarter, I think he might have had 600.
Right.
It was absolutely, that was something that was neat as a long snapper too, that you're always locked in, you're ready to go when you need to be, but I think to be locked in for the duration of the game is something that you couldn't do. So we were also able to just enjoy the game as a fan for certain parts of the game too. So to just see that in combination with it being a night game and the snow falling the way it did was one of the most special games to be a part of.
So, might be a weird question, but if specialists had their own Heisman trophy, what would be the requirements for it? What would it take to win a Heisman for a specialist?
Jeez, that's a
specific for a specialist.
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the kickers would be in prime position to win this just because they're the ones that are putting up points.
Yeah.
I think having a high percentage beyond 50, putting some style points out there is probably significantly important. That would be something that would be high for the kickers, along with just a great percentage. I think something that would be interesting to keep the stats on with punters is inside the 20 is always huge, but if there could be some more inside the 10, inside the 5, those are when you truly start. Well, you can really, I shouldn't say truly, you really impact a lot of games just by being inside the 20. But once you start getting deeper into the 10, the 5, those are when you get the defense really excited to pin their ears back and possibly cause a turnover, get the ball at a good field position, or even if you don't allow a first down and all of a sudden then you're making the other punter punt from the back of the end zone. I think those inside the 10s, inside the 5s are significant. And then for a long snapper, if you got somebody incredible enough to get downfield and start forcing some fumbles, making some tackles, making an impact that way, I think that would be the way to start looking at that. On top of just making sure your snaps are good, that just has to be a given.
Right. So graduating, you did a pro day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess what drills did you all have to do for a pro day that were like specific for long snapping that they could really see how you would translate to the NFL?
Yeah, I did all the field drills, and then for long snapping, I don't recall who was the coach that was leading me through it necessarily, but just did a handful of field goal snaps where they're looking where the lace is at. What's the speed? What's the accuracy? Are you repeating everything? Are you able to do the same motion every single time as the ball ending up in the same spot? And then punts, it was long snapping, seeing where your set is, how quick are you able to get back, what depth are you able to get to in a short amount of time, and just checking out speed and accuracy of the long snaps. So I think that's mostly what they were looking at. I I was fortunate and felt good about the way I snapped that day. My overall speed was, I think, something that really didn't allow me to get many looks at the next level. It's really remarkable seeing what some of these long snappers, their measurables along with their ability to make impacts on running downfield and really being an additional asset to the punt team.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And
you're
so,
talking like running speed, not like ball speed,
yes,
snapping
correct,
speed.
correct. If you're making it to the NFL, the long snapping is already there. That
Sure.
was that was something I was confident in my abilities, and I was fortunate to showcase on pro day. But the people that are playing in the NFL, their overall speed and ability to make an impact in the coverage part of punt, I think, is what separated a lot of the people who were the 32 guys fortunate to be in the NFL and myself. And that was, I think, the biggest. I didn't really hear back after pro day much from any teams, and I think that was a big piece of it. If anyone would go look at the numbers I had for my speed and 40 times that day. But
So
it was neat to be able to be in front of that many scouts. We were fortunate to have, we had a handful of people drafted, and I mean 2 first-round picks with Ryan Ramczyk and TJ Watt. So it
yep.
was really incredible to be able to be at a pro day where all 32 teams were represented. That was something that I always was fortunate to have some great teammates around me to have that many people show up for a pro day.
Yeah, was your thought process going into that like, okay, I'm just gonna give it my best shot here. If I don't land somewhere, then it's time to move on. Or I guess what did that process look like for you?
Yeah, for me that was essentially what it is. I was seeing what would come of it, wanted to put my best foot forward on pro day and see if that could lead me anywhere, and try to continue long snapping throughout that summer into the fall. And after that, after not hearing really much of anything, I'd moved on at that point, which is, I think, always I'd listen back to talking to, or just hearing what Leo Musso had to say about a wonderful, awesome teammate of mine, but hearing what he had to say about the transition going from football to just not, and I thought he really summed it up quite well.
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question for you. I was going to talk about a lot of athletes talk about the identity shift after football, and what's the transition like for you personally?
hmm Yeah, I think it was just challenging. I think initially, and sometimes still is, but um, it was so wonderful for me. You always had times where you needed to be somewhere. Somebody was coaching you up. If you needed to had any injury, any training, needed to show up to the doctor, you always could show up to the same place, and everything was, as long as you showed up on time, we're working very hard. Everything was right there for you. It was just on us to make sure we were showing up and putting a lot of effort in. And then we were just on such a schedule, and even I think balancing school and football, the fortunate part of that was there was just always times you needed to be everywhere. So your schedule was put out for you. And when you had to transition to making your own schedule, that was something that I had to really learn and figure out how to do and what made the most sense for me. Because I was, being where everything was there for you was pretty incredible. It's certainly a lot of effort, a lot of work that you need to put in to continue to perform at a high level and to be competing at the level we did. But it was also amazing having all of that laid out for you.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're somewhat of a creature of habit, as am I.
hmm
So, I mean, we'll dive into it a little bit later. So, like, it probably took steps for you, right? Like, you were very regimented in college, but then you get to, more your professional life and adult life, so to speak,
hmm
and that kind of goes away. And then you take it a step further with kids, where sometimes it's just pure chaos. Like there's no, like, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
no real schedule. So
Oh
like,
yeah.
how like being a creature of habit, how did you make that progression?
Yeah, I think as part of it is just knowing what you can control and what you can't control, and everything you can control, making sure that just try to stay as much on top of that as you can, and anything you can't, just allow that to happen as it does. And I mean, do your best to just adjust where you need to. But yeah, with kids, sometimes you never really know what direction the day is going to go. But I think anytime you're around them is just a special time that I try never to take for granted. And whatever direction they want to lead us, sometimes there's a handful of things you want to do around the house, and it doesn't quite get done because you have. Sometimes it's even a lot of fun. They just want to keep doing the same activity over and over with you, and
Right.
that's pretty special too, just to be able to spend that time. But just being able to let go of a schedule and just take what comes to you is something that's been pretty important and really fun with having kids.
Yes, I agree. It was tough. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It was tough for me to kind of alter my schedule to begin with, man. It was, but then
Oh my goodness.
then you have these moments where it's like the most wonderful thing, and you're like, okay, you
Yeah.
just got to live in these moments, man. Like,
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep.
but
Yeah.
so we'll jump back to fatherhood a little bit later.
Hmm.
Do you ever miss the grind of football, or have you found something like in your career or like a hobby now that fills that competitive void that football once took up for you?
I think the biggest thing you miss is just the your teammates around you, and just knowing that everybody's showing up. You're all working towards the same goal, working in the same direction together, and uh, just really have other people to help keep you accountable too. I mean, I always want to be accountable to myself, but when you know you're showing up to a team and you're just as accountable to them as you are to yourself, to keep you motivated, keep you going forward, that's something that's really helpful. Gotten into something that's helped just fill a competitive void is just for me. I started getting into running a little bit. That I can certainly I need to figure out how to do better with kids now, because it's back to just having a schedule. It's figuring out how to schedule these times in, and especially when you are working and you come home from work. The thing I want to be doing most is just spending time with my two boys and wife and just our family together. So it's figuring out how to get schedule those moments into your day, whether it's in the early morning. Really, I think it's just important to find ways to schedule things that you want to do outside of it. But running's really been a way to just help fuel a little bit of competitiveness to myself, and just show that
Do we,
I can still go out. I can do these athletic feats, and that's something that's been cool for me.
do we have a goal in mind? Half marathon, marathon,
Yeah, I have.
five?
Unfortunately, I think this year I had a goal to be a half marathon every year since 2018. I think was the first year I ran one.
Okay.
2 years those have been full marathons, which has been neat. Um, that was just a goal I had for myself to at least do one, and then I was coaxed into doing another one from from a friend. So that was neat to do. And then the half marathons are something that I think are enjoyable to really just turn your brain off for a little over 2 hours, and or anywhere from a little under a little over to 2 hours, depending on how well training had gone that year, and just shut off and go.
So you had me at the scheduled stuff. You lost me at the running.
Yeah.
I ran one half one time, and it was just like I trained for it everything. I mean, I
Hmm.
ran it well. I'm 6'4" and 230 pounds. Like, it's a lot of weight to be
It
running
is.
for half a marathon.
Yes, indeed.
Knees were shot the next day, but so maybe you can get me back here. I stalked you a little bit on Instagram, and you guys
Hmm.
have a ton of uh, great looking food on there. Is that something else that you've been diving into?
Yeah, I've just enjoyed cooking from a young age. Fortunately, my mom's a really fantastic cook. My dad's really awesome on the grill, and they always would just find ways to get us involved with any of that, whether it was grabbing the bag of charcoal and just setting it next to the grill, or adding different, just being able to mix whatever's in the mixing bowl if we're baking. And then I think after I had my chance at that, my mom would then do the finishing touches, or get it actually on the stand to get the mixer going. But just finding little ways to get me involved there got me really excited about cooking, baking, grilling. And I just enjoy eating. I always think it's something that brings people together at a table, and that's just a good way to form better relationships with people. So I've been lacking at taking pictures of my food recently to put them online, but that is something I really enjoy doing.
Any aspirations with that, or just love it as a hobby?
I just love it as a hobby. So I think it's just a fun way to get family and friends together. So it's something I really enjoy doing.
Hopefully something you'll pass along to your kids.
Yeah, it's been really fun. We have a garden outside, which is fun. A lot of tomatoes.
Oh, nice.
Our zucchinis are going crazy right now, as I think many people who have had those have experienced. So we've made quite a few muffins and bread, and that's been cool having my oldest son get all the measuring cups out. He gets to dump everything in the bowl, and that's a fun way to keep getting him involved and get excited about baking and cooking too.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, snappers live in these high pressure, high precision moments. Do you ever find yourself using that calm under pressure mindset as a father today?
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to when your kid's having a tough time or screaming. Especially now, it's nice our oldest at least can communicate a little bit more what he's going through if he's having a tough time. But with our youngest now, especially, or just in the newborn stage when they're crying and you really have no way of figuring out what's going on, I think just being able to go back to those calmer moments, whether it's just the deep breaths, just it's something that you can do everything you can to help them, and as long as you're doing what you can control and know what you're doing, I think you're able to let everything else go and just try to find a way to help it get better.
Do you ever catch yourself using some of the phrases or coaching points your dad used to use on you, but now with your kids?
That's a good question. I don't know that it's happening, that I'm aware that it's happening, but
right.
It's always happening in the background, whether I think about it or not. But yeah, I would imagine there's plenty of things that I'm unaware of that I've just translated subconsciously through. Yeah.
Is there anything you experienced growing up with sports that you definitely want to replicate for your kids? And is there anything that maybe you do differently?
Yeah, I think certainly on the replicating side, just making it fun. I think sports are something that we spend an outrageous amount of time on. And if we're going to spend this much time on them, I hope it's something we're having fun with. I mean, every practice, every game may not be the most fun, but as long as you're excited about it, having fun as a whole, I think that's really the most important piece of all of it, and that's something I certainly hope to pass along.
Have you introduced your kids to any Badger game day traditions yet?
I don't necessarily know traditions, but we certainly get excited about watching the games. This year, my oldest is talking a lot more, so we got Go Badgers down quite a bit. Every time the Badgers are on the screen now and he sees the motion W, he just starts screaming Bucky Badger, which is really cool and just exciting for me, and gets me fired up that he doesn't necessarily know what's going on, but he gets excited about Bucky Badger, so that's pretty cool.
I tell you what, we need some of that passion and excitement on the field.
Yeah.
So if your kid, we kind of talked about it a little bit actually. If your kids decide not to play sports, how would you apply the lessons you learned as an athlete to support their passions in other areas?
I think it's really just having a vested interest in what you're doing and getting excited about it, and whatever your passion may be, it's dedicating the time and effort to get to whatever level of that, whatever it is. I think the important thing is just I guess it's really putting the time and effort into doing what you want to do, being excited about it, being passionate about it. And if it's something you want to pursue, putting as much effort and time and that you need to into it.
So I kind of always end these things with two final questions, two very similar questions. But so the first one, if your kids somehow come across this interview when they come of age, what is one thing that you hope that they take away from it?
It's a fun question.
Or we can jump to the next one. The next one might be way easier for you.
No, we can stay here, but
Okay.
I just hope they find that their dad was excited about things that he did in life, was just a good person, and really wanted to just put your best effort forward and always do your best at what you can do. And back to kind of parenting and long snapping, just as much as you can control that, but anything you can't, just have the ability to let that go too.
Awesome. So you can pick any sport, since I'm not sure anyone wants to guess how the Badgers will do with their upcoming schedule. But pick a sport and how you think the Badgers are going to do the rest of this season or the rest of the season that they're in for the sport that you pick.
Yeah, volleyball has been an absolute ball to watch.
Yeah.
The women on that team have been really incredible. I think starting from the time, I think right when you wrapped up school, to now, have just been on an incredible trajectory. So I'd love to see them make another deep run, and I think it's certainly possible. They've been just a joy to watch.
And it's insane how many top 25 teams they've already played.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
They're going through the gauntlet, it seems.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it'll be battle tested by the time the end of the season rolls around.
Yes.
And then I am hoping that we find a way to keep the Heartland Trophy, and the axe can find its way to Madison. Especially growing up in Minnesota, and being a Wisconsin fan my whole life, that was always something that just stood out a little extra to me, to always want to make sure that was something that got its mail in Madison.
Awesome. All right. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're listening. Drop a comment who you'd like to see join us next. Big thanks to Connor Udelhoven for joining me today. And as always, on Wisconsin. Thanks, Connor.
On Wisconsin. Thanks, Adam.